Eyes are already heading east for the International Monetary Fund's search to shore up cash, with its chief warning we face a lost decade. Christine Lagarde's following up her visit to China with a trip to Russia with a trip to China, where she's said Europe's debts are making global prospects uncertain, and that Asia's not immune. Live to Beijing now, and Professor Liu Biaocheng from the University of International Business and Economics there. Professor Biaocheng, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
First of all, the IMF.
It's a pleasure. Yes.
The IMF boss is largely on a revenue-raising exercise to help Europe, which China's been cool on in recent weeks. What might this trip actually achieve?
Well, I think now Christine Lagarde is now sitting as the chairman of the IMF. Therefore, I think her professional job is really to beef up the IMF and to make IMF more productive and more expensive. So instead of merely focusing on the rescue package of Europe. So therefore, I think the initial objective is really how China can work more closely with IMF to beef up the finance capacity of IMF, and in the meantime to offer the justifiable position for China, both in terms of the membership and also the possible RMB as a denominating currency behind the special drawing rights. And then certain funds will be funneled to help the Europe. So that's a second-tier question at the moment, particularly in the working mechanism between IMF, European Central Bank, and also the European Financial Stability Facility. So now I think the China's idea is very clear, that China still wanted to express with through this meeting positive attitude and sincerity. China will lend a hand, but of course China will also have their own conditions to reciprocate themselves.
Well, you mentioned China has its own conditions, and it obviously has its own issues to spend its own money on. How can it convince its people that it is a good idea to throw the country's money at a swath of rich G7 nations?
That's a very good question, because I can see that there has been growing this concern in China over how the money is going to be spent. I think the government will have to give the right answer to the Chinese people because it's their tax dollars. So therefore, so China should view this as a matter of investment instead of a financial aid. And secondly, the economic consideration should be the primary consideration instead of the compromising on certain face-saving or diplomacy. Then the investment should be targeted more to the valuable assets to help the industries, instead of writing a blank check to buy the bonds, which is now rather shaky, and there has not been a reasonable assurance that a proper return or risk-free package is being offered either by the individual country that is facing the problem or by the Eurozone as a whole. So therefore, the Chinese government will have to be responsible for this money, will have to provide the right answer to the Chinese people for their satisfaction.
Well, right now, Ms. Lagarde wants countries to act together in the face of the European debt crisis, suggesting that Asia will be dragged down as well. Is that a valid worry for China?
Well, I think now there has been an increasing consensus, and her visit is trying to enhance this message that the world is getting more interdependent. A sluggish Europe won't really help the emerging economies, both in terms of export and also in terms of the economic and the technological cooperation. So yes, I think the consensus is there already. But it's a matter of how the emerging economies have their own problems, how to balance the domestic, say for example, inflation issue, employment issue, and overheated economy issue, to balance with their international responsibility. After all, though the emerging economies like China and Russia, they are also facing a number of challenges, so therefore they really need to balance their global responsibility. And in the meantime, I think a synergy must be sought. This is not really a zero-sum game, so a mutual beneficial and reciprocal way, particularly in terms of long-term prosperity, needs to be sought after. So it is not really you give me the money, it's how we work together to make a bigger cake to solve the problem on a long-term basis.
And really briefly, as we're running out of time, with every passing summit or solution suggestion, ending the Eurozone crisis appears more out of reach. What is the view from where you are?
Well, what I see is that the crisis, the solution for the crisis is set and deal. It's really up to Greece whether they're going to take it up now after they waived the referendum and reshuffled the cabinet. I think there's going to be a more certainty in this regard. But the next problem is Italy. So with now their prime minister stepping down, I think they are going to have a major discussion as how to accept a package and how to work together with the international community. But I do have hope for Italy because they still have a strong muscle of their industrial base. So therefore, if they can manage well in terms of political governance, they are going to solve their own problem by 2013.
All right, thank you very much. Very interesting perspective from where you are, Professor Liu Biao Chang from Beijing-based University of International Business and Economics.